All right. A preamble. I've never really seen overzealots videos in the past before, but I came across this video, I think broadly speaking from other lefty content creators because they themselves also saw this video and were singing its praises. So why don't we do a little bit of investigative journalism? Obviously, since I know that I am a dirty pre-watcher, I've said this before, I've watched this video on my own time. This is a really, really good video. Very, very good video talking about a lot of the history of Israel-Palestine, as well as the consequences on what happens if you have dumbass fucking YouTubers who barely have any idea on the topics that they are talking about, cover these highly sensitive political issues and historical issues. And I think of myself as a little bit of a history buff. I like history, mostly military history, but whatever, it's still history. Like, a lot of military battles and stuff have helped shape history, and those are the things that are broadly the most recorded. Whatever, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. I'm a fucking nerd. Say what you will about me, I don't really care. Broadly speaking, this topic that is being tackled here by overzealots is one that I think should probably be tackled more and examined way more. The sort of consequences of slop tube and how people's ignorance are very, very easily weaponized in order to justify, well, a lot of idiotic shit, to be honest. Because with the content creators that overzealots takes a look at here, holy shit, these people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But, you know, wouldn't expect really much of anything else from, like, dumbasses like Asmongold, NuxTaku, and Mutahar, Some Ordinary Gamers, Boy Meets Mini. That's your boy right there. Your favorite man. Your favorite man. And, of course, Ethan Klein of H3H3. Of course, the debate between him and Hassan just happened. It was a complete rank disaster for Ethan, I would say. Ethan had no idea what he was talking about. He made himself look like a completely uneducated, unaware moron when it comes to the topics of Israel-Palestine. He has no idea, engaging in just some of the most rank idle conjecture, some of the most of the basic Zionist conspiracy theories like the double Nakba theory, and basically just being also incredibly racist throughout the whole time against, well, the Arab people, because that's also been a factor in this as well. A lot of racism. But, you know, why don't we take a look at this video? Let's see what overzealots has to say for themselves.
Up until recently, corporate media and ivory tower elites have held what seemed to be a monopoly on the flow of information. If you wanted to hear an opinion on a contentious matter, you would have to turn on the corporate media platform of your choosing, and you would be spoon-fed an acceptable position on the topic at hand. For a good long while, this arrangement...
Yeah, this is very true, by the way. Like, if we're talking about, like, the sort of, media environment that people were broadly engaging with in, like, the 70s, and before, like, the sort of advent of mass media, it was all done through, like, it was just done all through corporate sort of, like, not sponsors, that's not the correct term, the corporate mouthpieces.
Served corporate interests quite well. As Noam Chomsky and Edward S. Herman put it in their 1988 book, Manufacturing Consent, the mass media serve as a system for communicating messages and symbols to the general populace. It's their function to amuse, entertain, and inform, and to inculcate individuals with the values, beliefs, and codes of behavior that will integrate them into institutional structures of a larger society. In a world of concentrated wealth and major conflicts of class interest, to fulfill this role requires systematic propaganda. This model of subtle propaganda and gatekeeping of serious discussion has fallen out of favor in recent years due to the rise of alternative media figures and platforms. From YouTube to Twitter to Rumble for the really bad boys, these alternative media platforms have proven to resonate quite well with the average person. And for good reason. People have begun to see through the elitist corporate stronghold that traditional media held over the flow of information for decades. And for a lot of people, they've become disillusioned with the status quo that those institutions were propped up to protect. People are tired of feeling as though serious political conversation can only be reserved for ivory tower elites and fucking Anderson Cooper. So when they hear a seemingly down-to-earth guy like Joe Rogan talk with his buddy who has an interest in politics or aliens or what have you, it's easy to resonate with them and latch on to folks like that for insight on current events and world news. Same goes for his contemporaries, who seem to offer an alternative to the polished media institutions of old and instead sell you their personalities ranging from humble and inquisitive to whatever this is. However, as we've recently seen, these alternative media ecosystems very quickly begin to replicate the undesirable aspects of traditional corporate media. From sketchy funding to audience capture, independent media has proven...
This is such a good fucking point here by overzealots, dude. Like, we all know about the fucking tenant media, fucking bullshit with Dim Fool and whatnot. We know, right? We all know about that complete, utter nonsense with Tim Pool. Like, the fact that he's taking money from the fucking Russians in order to be able to just spread their fucking propaganda. And yeah, like, I really like the fact that, you know, overzealots here is bringing up Joe Rogan in particular. And you can notice this throughout a lot of his fucking more recent coverage with Joe Rogan, especially. Joe Rogan has been having how many episodes with, like, billionaires? And, like, people have been saying on his subreddit how just completely out of touch that Joe has become more and more. And a lot of people have been getting disillusioned with that. So... yeah, you know, bald man licking the boot. Exactly like you're saying, Boy Meets Smitty. Bald man, he love licking that boot. He love licking that boot.
Not to be immune to the shortcomings of its predecessor. But worst of all, these alternative media spheres are a breeding ground for anti-intellectualism. I know that sounds like a really elitist word, but I do think it's important to know what it means and how to spot it in the wild. Anti-intellectualism is hostility to and mistrust of intellect, intellectuals, and intellectualism, commonly expressed as deprecation of education and philosophy and the dismissal of art, literature, history, and science as impractical, politically motivated.
God, this is shit that happens all the fucking time with the right wing, constantly. They love anti-intellectualism. Just because... fundamentally speaking, we know why this is the case, because the right wing are just fundamentally incurious people. You talk with these people about any particular topic, and like you'll just want to like hit yourself on the head with like a doormat or something, because like these people are just you talk with them, you engage with them in any particular way, and they are just completely uninquisitive, uninterested people.
And even contemptible human pursuits. Anti-intellectuals may present themselves and be perceived as champions of common folk, populists against political and academic elitism, and tend to see educated people as a status class that dominates political discourse and higher education while being detached from the concerns of ordinary people. Sound familiar? This is the entire MO of Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, and the like. Anti-intellectualism, with its disdain for science, embrace of conspiracy theories, and us versus them mentality.
Flat Earth. You're on a flat Earth. You can travel anywhere. Give me 2 cities. You point at 2 cities and you just
we don't like you so much. I get what you question.
Is the foundation of reactionary politics and a driving force behind the rise of the far right.
I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War.
I don't like him putting Kevin...
oh, that was the fucking dumb fuck Nazi, I think, that was both on Tucker Carlson's show and I think also was on Joe Rogan. The dude just said, like, oh, yeah, I think Churchill was the main enemy of World War II. Which is just, like, that's, like, a neo-Nazi conspiracy theory.
In the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
But this video is not about Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, or Tucker Carlson. It's actually about a subset of alternative media that I like to refer to as sloptube. I didn't coin this term, but sloptube typically refers to content creators, not necessarily just YouTubers, who create run-of-the-mill drama commentary or pop culture content, typically from what they claim to be an apolitical perspective. Sloptube content ranges from covering interpersonal beefs between YouTubers, all the way over to political commentary that's supposed to be somewhat centrist, but often carries water for the right. I don't use the term sloptube as a pejorative. I actually engage in the slop every now and then. I think there are certain creators in this realm who do a really good job. I also concede the point that left-wing YouTube or breadtube or whatever it's called is definitely home to some annoying motherfuckers, so you don't need to convince me on that. But the reason I want to look into sloptubers for this video is because they benefit from a very special type of defense. Let's call it weaponized ignorance. It's where they utilize their position as ostensibly apolitical content creators to shield themselves from criticism when they throw their hat in the ring on serious political conversations. They may not even know that they benefit from this, but regardless of their intentions, their positions in the online ecosystem allot them this privilege. Again, I don't think it's wrong for them to cover contentious political topics. I'm actually happy that they do because I think there's things that we can all learn from each other, and discussion shouldn't be stifled due to a perceived lack of credentials. But my point here is that they should treat serious topics with the respect they deserve. That includes backing up their...
God, this is such a good fucking point. And I constantly bring up shit like this to like right-wingers all the fucking time, dude. Because it's just like, dude, if you people have no idea about a particular like topic, just don't talk about it. There's a lot of shit that I don't fucking talk about with like an authoritative voice because I don't know much about it. Like, for example, gotcha games. I'm not an authoritative voice on gotcha games. I have a lot of friends that I know who play gotcha games. So I don't really tend to comment much on gotcha games. I'll commentate a lot on fucking Pokemon because I have played thousands upon thousands of hours of Pokemon. And I know that shit like the back of my hand. The front, the back, the sides, everywhere. I know that shit instantly. I know way too much about that game. So I'm going to commentate and I'm going to talk about that stuff. Same with like a lot of political issues. Like, there's a bunch of political issues that I don't necessarily have like 100% perfect knowledge on. Same with like historical issues, right? So I tend to try to not comment on that. But dude, like, whew, the right will just talk about anything, and they pretend to be an authority on those things, which is really, really annoying. You'll never guess what I could commentate on. Clearly, it would be Destiny 2. That's true, Zane. You probably are a very avid Destiny 2 enthusiast, you know.
Statements with sources, and when they get something wrong on a contentious subject, issuing a correction.
Hezbollah's credited with about 500,000 deaths in Syria.
Let's ask our friend ChatGPT.
I've looked into this pretty extensively. Hezbollah's killed significantly more.
Yeah, by the way, this is also like the same lie that Ethan Klein repeated in the debate, saying that Hezbollah killed more people in Syria than the IDF, or then either like what the IDF or I was gonna say Hezbollah, not Hezbollah, but then either like the IDF or like any other like group, or Assad, for example, because Assad's also killed a lot of people in Syria. So to say that like, oh yeah, it was all just, you know, yeah, it was all just like not Israel, it was all Hezbollah is just complete nonsense, right? He's just lying.
More people by almost like 10 times, I think. I mean, we don't know the exact numbers coming out of Gaza at the moment. I'm trying to dry off the jack. Are you reading something contradictory, AB?
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT says overall, due to the scale of frequency of IDF operations over decades, they likely caused more Muslim casualties than Hezbollah.
No shot. Hold on. What was the question you asked?
Hezbollah versus IDF, who has killed more Muslims?
Ask if it's including the Syrian civil war. I mean, that makes no sense. I've literally fact checked this a million times. I feel like.
Like, how? I don't understand. Like, how the fuck did Ethan think that Hezbollah kill more? I just want to understand his like reasoning, dude. I don't understand. Like, how? How did he come to that conclusion? That's the only question I would ever want to ask Ethan. Because Hezbollah has to be bad? It can't be that simple, Boy Meets Mini. I categorically refuse to think it is that simple. I just don't believe it, man. I don't believe it. I can't. I can't bring myself to believing it. How does he know? Like, how did he come to this conclusion? I have to know.
In reality, their positions as drama creators actually serve as a shield for them when they irresponsibly cover a serious topic. Like I said, weaponized ignorance. You can think of it as a cousin to anti-intellectualism in the way that it shuns responsible inquiry, and in many instances keeps these creators insulated from having to actually put the work in to appropriately research the topics they broach. Often, these creators dabble in these topics, not because they have a genuine concern for this.
You can even say that I'm like sort of, listen, Caught. You can even say that I am sort of like a byproduct of this. And like, you know, I engage in some of the same behavior as in comparison to like these slop tube content creators. I don't typically tend to do a lot of research into like a topic that I'm covering. I have already a lot of baseline knowledge, and I've watched quite a lot of like news shows and like YouTube videos from like Majority Report covering these topics. So I like to think that I have like a decent sort of like baseline knowledge, because I often tend to refer to that knowledge quite frequently, I like to say. Is that like good enough to be able to, I don't know, it's like probably good enough to be able to like hold my own in a debate. But even like segments that I do right now, I'll open up articles, I'll take a look into certain things. It's like, okay, well, like Trump has this claim about like the $9 trillion claim, for example. It's like, okay, I don't know what that means. Like, what is that exactly? Like, I open up a tab and I do like a little bit of tertiary, like not tertiary reading, but like a little quick read on it. See, like I'll go through an article, talk about it with Chad, because like, you know, I also want to be sort of educated on these like claims that Trump is supposedly having or whatever about like, I don't know, like it's idle conjecture or something, like, to be honest, which is most of the time what it is. Complete nonsense. But the people that Overzealots is talking about, like, they do none of that. Do you think Asmongold looks into any articles when he makes a claim? No. Mutahar, he probably does like a little bit of reading and looking into stuff if he's talking about like the tech news stuff he sometimes does. Maybe he reads into some articles and stuff. I don't know. I don't think so. Not that much. And Ethan will just say like whatever the fuck. He doesn't care. He just runs his podcast and just says like whatever just nonsense spews out of his mouth. You also just blatantly say that you don't know. Exactly, which I think is like a sort of like, could this be another death? You know, I love talking about the death of things. You know, the death of objectivity, subjectivity, broader critical thinking ability, education. I love talking about the death of things. Is this another death? Is this another death of something? I'm trying to think exactly. What would this be another death of? Oh, also like the death of emotion, I guess. I also talked about like the sort of death of emotion, death of righteous anger or something, but maybe this is like the sort of death of inquisitiveness. Yeah, like, or like, as is probably, I think it's also okay for overzealots to say this is like weaponized ignorance and just broader intellectualism. You know, I'm throwing my own term into this because this is my style. The death of inquisitiveness, the death of inquisition. Maybe not inquisition. Is it correct to say inquisition here? I'm looking this up. I'm making sure that I'm using the term inquisition here. Because there's inquisitive. Because inquisitive means to be like, you know, curious and wanting to like learn and look into things. I don't care about the AI overview. The act of inquiring deeply or searchingly. Investigation. Inquisition. I'm gonna say it's the death of Inquisition. I'm throwing my term into the ring. I'm calling this the death of Inquisition. That's what I'm calling it.
Subject at hand, or because they cherish journalistic integrity, but because it's an easy way to get views, and more importantly, it's an easy way to stake out a position contrary to a creator they dislike and use contentious political topics as a proxy for personal issues.
This, dude, Destiny does the exact same thing. This can apply to DGG and all of their dumbfuck orbiters. Perfectly applies to Asmongold, Mutahar. Broadly speak, honestly, like, I think the main commonality is just people who hate the left. This can apply to, like, every sort of, like, right-wing commentator. This is a fantastic point. And we all know why. We know why Destiny is the salty little bitch that he is. It's because he couldn't monetize all left-wing discourse around himself when, you know, Hassan was starting to significantly blow up. We know. I mean, I know this. I've talked about this before. But, you know, maybe a lot of, like, newer Hassan heads probably lack this knowledge. Because, you know, I've said this before, but I am an old Hasanabi head. I was there in, like, when he was, like, starting to stream on Twitch and shit in, like, 2019. I remember. I was there for the fucking America Deserved 9/11. I was actually there in the chat for that stream. I remember it pretty vividly. It was, and, like, the whole fucking, like, Dan Crenshaw bit as well. It's fucking wild, dude.
As we will see later in this video. Keep in mind, this apolitical veneer requires these creators to lend credence to the narrative that the far left and the far right are equally morally objectionable.
I'll tell you who we're talking about. You don't think Hassan has influence online?
Of course he does,
He's
yeah.
mainstream.
For sure.
So this is like Donald Trump hanging out with Nick Fuentes. Like, you don't think that matters?
Which results in this stupidity being parroted by their viewers.
I believe the biggest streamer on the left, Hassan Parker. He's just extremely,
Did you say Hassan Parker? Parker.
Radical. And gets people just really worked up. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about we look on the right? Nick Fuentes. Which one do you think
That's
is more
a good
harmful?
Honestly, between them, Hassan Parker. He literally plays hard.
Hassan.
And you can even see, I think this guy is, I think this is Dean Withers, right? I think this is Dean Withers. He's like he's a liberal, but he's like he's like a pretty good debater, to be honest. Like, you know, against like the right. But then again, like, I don't know. That's like saying you're able to like bully a puppy or something. I'm not really sure. Like, even he is shocked by that, saying like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? And this guy would probably be no like real big fan of Hassan, but like the claim that Hassan Piker is more harmful than Nick Fuentes is just, It is silly, man. The death of Inquisition and the bloom of intellectual apathy. That is some fucking fire, Zane. That's so good. Bloom of intellectual apathy. I'm stealing that. That's a yoink from me, dude. I'm fucking taking that one.
On Parker? What? You don't even know his last name.
I'm so sorry, but saying that like Hassan produces worse outcomes for society than a neo-Nazi that loves Hitler and gets like 40,000 viewers is absolutely radical.
In their chase for clicks and relevance, their audience is left with a hodgepodge of half-baked ideas and little nuance about the topics their favorite creator just introduced them to. So, in a bit of an ironic twist, I'm going to cover some slop tubers to highlight examples of this behavior, which I guess makes me the slop tuber this time. Sorry.
I can't believe that overzealots is
the main creators I want to
slop
focus on in this video are the live streamer Asmongold, Mutahar from the YouTube channel SomeOrdinaryGamers, and the very well-known YouTuber and podcaster Ethan Klein of H3H3 Productions. These three people are in no way the only creators who exhibit this behavior, but they will serve as great examples of what I'm talking about. The reason I want to focus specifically on them is because their stories are somewhat intertwined, and they have all at some point in the past year and a bit made content that broaches the very serious geopolitical topic that is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So before we start, I need to fill you in on some context and explain how we got here. Back in 2021, subject of this video, Ethan Klein, was one half of a political podcast called Leftovers. His co-host was the left-wing commentator Hassan Piker. Now, their podcast was, in my opinion, very enjoyable. It benefited greatly from the dynamic between the two. Ethan came across as the well-intentioned, slightly left-leaning funny guy, and Hassan assumed the role of the more seasoned political commentator. The podcast came to an end.
I had to quickly just yoink that shit and put it in a sticky note. Now the problem with this title, Zane, might be more than 100 characters. Great fucking title, might be more than 100 characters. We'll see.
In late 2023, largely due to the October 7th attack in Israel. I'm not going to go into detail about how exactly this show and their friendship came to an end because it's not the most important part of this video, and frankly, I don't care much about the interpersonal drama between them. But in a nutshell, Ethan lived in Israel for a bit, and his wife, Ela, served in the IDF, while Hassan is a vocal advocate for the Palestinian plight. After October 7th, 2023, Ethan began making statements that many interpreted as tacit defenses of Israel, sparking backlash from his progressive fan base. He compared the organization Jewish Voice for...
By the way, this was the same shit that was also brought up in A Content Cop by iDubbbz. He literally said the exact same shit, saying like, Ethan, you should not be really surprised when there is a topic that you are lacking on, and you've ingratiated yourself with a new particular audience who is more familiar than you on this topic, and they see you espousing a bunch of bullshit about said topic. They see you espousing a bunch of points, like saying like, hey, these seem very oddly Zionist. We do not like that. You should not be surprised that, hey, whoa, they might be upset about that, considering that this is an issue that they significantly care about, which honestly is a pretty good fucking point there by iDubbbz.
For peace to capos.
The reason why I brought up Jewish Voice for Peace and other groups using this as well.
Yeah, him saying that Jewish Voices for Peace are capos is fucking insane, dude. Like, unironically.
Jews themselves in America using this.
Wait, I'm curious. What is meant by... Because, like, what is meant by capos there? I know about capos, like... Oh, I know that there's, like, there's, like, it's the gangster term, right? Capos. Yeah, being a capo is an underboss, right? Prisoner in a Nazi camp. That's it. That's okay. That is even more insane. What the fuck? Oh, so he's calling them a bunch of slave overseers. I see. What? That's crazy, dude.
The Zionist slogan indicates that the slogan isn't one that is about the evisceration of Jews. If that was the case, then they wouldn't use it.
There was Jewish collaborators with fucking Nazis.
Ethan, don't do that, please. Don't say that the Jews' Voice for Peace are akin to capos.
Made a disturbing remark about Aaron Bushnell by saying he burns alive really good.
Not to put this uncouth, but he's a champ at fucking burning alive. I mean, that sounds bad, but he did it really good.
And echoed Ben Shapiro.
I remember him saying that. Dude, I've talked, like, okay. My take on Aaron Bushnell is it's pretty wild that, you know, Aaron Bushnell was willing to go, you know, sort of like, I guess for lack of a better term, all the way in terms of, like, free speech, like, similar to, what a lot of what Tibetans do in terms of, like, lighting themselves on fire, to protest like Chinese occupation. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's sad that he does it, that he had to do it to himself. That's what I'm mostly saying. Most of the problem that I had with it was like the sort of idea that a lot of people were pushing, and this is a totally different topic, and this is really the only problem that I have, is like the sort of concept of martyrdom. I don't really like the concept of like martyrdom, or sort of treating this as like a religiously zealotous cause that's like worth like having to die for or something. It's like mostly just like an attitude kind of thing. I know that's like not how it's really like treated when it comes to like Israel Palestine. That's like mostly just kind of the problem that I had with it. A lot of the attitude, like, I mean, it's like a lot of the other like the sort of like idol worship kind of problems that I have. Like it's the same take that I would have with say Luigi Mangione, although I don't think Aaron Bushnell is as bad as like Luigi Mangione in terms of ideological predilections. So it's different in that respect. But I really do not like martyrdom as a concept, broadly speaking. I think it's more important to focus significantly on the merits of and like importance of like issues. Does this kind of make sense? I hope this kind of like makes sense. That's really like the only problem that I really had. Otherwise, like, yeah, it's pretty sad that Aaron Bushnell had to go to the fucking extent of having to light himself on fire to talk about like, well, the atrocities that are being committed in the name of, well, the United States of America. That's really about it. Oh yeah, and then there was this take with, I think they were, this guy is an Iranian sex worker, I think, where, you know, Ethan is like doing the exact same thing that Zionists do every single time, talking about like, well, you know, if you were gay in Gaza, you'd get like stoned to death or something by Hamas or some shit. And it's just like, dude, you can be both a sex worker and empathize with the plight of the Palestinians. Those aren't two incongruent positions. It's ridiculous.
Puro-style talking points by telling a pro-Palestinian sex worker that Hamas would kill him on the spot. As if this would, convince the guy to support Palestinian oppression? I don't know what Ethan's trying to do here. Ethan's brand of liberal Zionism increasingly alienated many of his progressive viewers. He later blamed Hassan for this shift, claiming that Hassan's more leftist politics had radicalized the audience into disagreeing with him. Ever since this, Ethan has relentlessly attacked pro-Palestinian advocates.
I am so proud to be marching with so many Jews.
Yes, the Jews! The Jews are here! Did we mention that?
Mm-hmm. And I hope he is fired.
Socialists, Marxists.
Karl Marx, I got a fucking lot to say about that dipshit. Mao was a dumb bitch. What the fuck did he do? Actually, he did a lot. He helped China a lot, but at what cost?
Nah, at what cost? This is like the same fucking stupid propaganda that every fucking liberal outfit always talks about. China developed this new form of battery, but at what cost? Or whatever the fuck. Listen, I do agree that Mao Zedong was not very good at policy. Listen, I've made the joke before, but Mao put all of his points in guerrilla fighting, not so much in statecraft, okay? Very, very bad at statecraft. But to say that, like, there wasn't, like, a huge raise of, like, people out of poverty that happened under the, the systems of the Chinese Communist Party is ludicrous and silly in of itself, right? Like, that's ridiculous.
He actually did a lot for China, I think. I don't know a lot about it.
And pretty much anyone to his left, denouncing them as radicals, anti-Semites, and terrorist sympathizers. He's even gone so far as to make a nearly 2-hour video titled Content Nuke Hassan Piker, in which he propagates lie after lie about Hassan, Palestinian history, the Nakba, and so on. But we'll get back to this later. Despite all this, Ethan still claims to be a stalwart supporter of the Palestinian cause.
I've been a stalwart supporter of the Palestinian cause for many years.
And the reason he feels this way is because he's critical of the current Netanyahu government and he supports a two-state solution. But as has been noted by Iraqi-Israeli historian Avi Shleim and many others like him, by its settlement expansion, Israel effectively killed the two-state.
Oh, hey, look, Avi Shleim.
What is left of the West Bank is a collection of Palestinian...
Oh, hey, yeah, Avi Shleim, that fucking historian that Ethan had no idea what he wrote at all in any of his books and cited him constantly. Crazy.
Palestinian enclaves surrounded by Israeli settlements and military bases that cannot form a viable state. In short, the two-state solution is dead, or to be more accurate, it was never born. The outcome I have come to favor is one democratic state between the River Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea, with equal rights for all its citizens, regardless of ethnicity or religion. Proponents of a two-state solution also often tend to overlook the right of return for the over 7 million Palestinian refugees and their descendants living outside the Israeli-Palestinian borders, despite UN Resolution 194 affirming their right to return to their homes if they so choose. Apart from this, focusing solely on Netanyahu or the far right in Israel.
Yeah, I do find it really funny how, like, you know, all these, like, dumbass fucking liberals, they'll always be like, ah, man, we really believe in, like, liberal institutions and stuff like that. But then, like, the UN will be like, so, the Palestinians, they have a right to return to their lands if they want to. Like, we've decreed this throughout a UN resolution. Now, all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, you can't do that, actually. You actually can't do, you can't. What about the Jews, guys? What about Israeli Jews? Like, this seems really heckin' bad, actually. Stupid, dude. Yeah, we believe in liberal democracy, sure. Yeah, exactly, Boy Meets Mini. These motherfuckers could care less about that shit.
Obscures the broader reality. The foundational project of Israel is one of ethno-religious supremacy and ethnic cleansing. Even relatively liberal or supposedly peaceful.
Dude, have you seen, like, all the, like, weirdo, like, liberal Hintufa fucking people that have started, like, coming out of the woodwork now, Boy Meets Mini, as a result of the current conflict in Kashmir? It's fucking hilarious, bro. Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I shouldn't be fucking surprised by any of this stuff. Like, I'm not really surprised by this. Of course they were gonna fucking do this, but God, dude, it's so goofy, man.
Israeli leaders are guilty of atrocities. To ignore that is to miss the forest for the trees. Ethan opposes lifting the blockade on Palestinians because he believes they would resort to violence if given the chance.
A one-state solution just eliminates, like, one internal faction that is an ever-present danger. And
You're telling me if we were to lift the blockade and the wall around Gaza today, there wouldn't be more violence against Israelis?
But this ignores a crucial reality. Palestinians have endured brutal oppression. That oppression needs to end. And while some have responded with violence, it's a response to systemic abuse, not some innate desire to harm Israelis. Framing Palestinians as inherently violent and incapable of integrating into a democratic state isn't just wrong, it's racist. As we'll see in this video, Ethan's analysis of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is steeped in Eurocentrism and reveals what seems to be, if I'm going to be very charitable, a subconscious belief in Western superiority. But first, let's introduce the other two subjects of this video. Speaking of holding a belief in Western superiority, this is Asmongold, a live streamer known for bangers such as,
if you want to consider a genocide as a systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now. So no, I'm not going to...
Yeah, we've gone over this fucking take before. Hey, dumbass, you can literally have this exact same justification for, like, evangelical Christianity. Like, it's stupid. Yeah, that's not in Sharia law. Like, Asmongold doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. It's just not there. He does not know what he's talking about. Simply put, Asmongold is just a fucking idiot.
To cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity and is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways.
Yikes. Asmongold's house looks like this, by the way. I'll just leave that.
Yeah, here's the you want to see the paragon of Western civilization? Here, let me fucking grab it real quick. Here's what we believe is the paragon of fucking Western civilization. Where's the fucking Asmongold tweet? Where is it? People know what I'm fucking talking about, dude. They know. Where is it? It's him in his fucking house, dude. We want the paragon of Western civilization.
On the screen for a second so you can...
Whoops. Here's another example just for you, overzealots. This one's a banger that came out recently. Hey, Asmongold. What's going on here, buddy? Yeah, he posted this. He willingly fucking posted this, dude. Yeah, but, like, you know. Palestinian culture is inherently inferior, right, guys? Like, yeah, dude, okay. Get your fucking head out of your ass. I don't really know why he posted this either, Jink. I don't know, dude. I have no idea why he decided to put this here. And he wants to, like, come talking to, like, anyone else about who are the, like, main arbiters for, like, who are the purveyors and sort of, like, people of, like, Western civilization or whatever. Like, get the hell out of here with this bullshit, bro. by this logic, like, literally, my ancestor's left testicle has more fucking culture than this fucking dumbass will ever have in his entire life.
Get a glimpse of the superior Westerners' living quarters. Now, it is true that Asmongold has apologized for this horrendous statement, and at the time seemed as though he would try to be more careful when dealing with serious issues going forward, but it wasn't long before he was back on the scene with more bullshit. From joking about rounding up migrants dressed as Ash Ketchum.
What is the probability that Tom Holman would let me go with him dressed up as Ash Ketchum with watching them do deportations?
To saying shit like the Holocaust.
God, that was a fucking classic. Jesus Christ.
Probably happened.
I think the Holocaust probably happened. I think probably 99% certainty it happened.
To engaging in revisionist history by way of arguing that the Nazis didn't burn books to stifle what they believed to be degeneracy, but rather because those books were, quote, written in Jewish.
The Nazis burned books on gender sciences.
They did do that.
They did.
First.
They did
now
do
the
that.
administration has villainized and marginalized migrant workers, trans.
It's a bit of a miss. Like, my understanding is that they burned them not because it was gender stuff, but because it was written in Jewish and not German.
This guy is in...
Now, here's the thing that overzealots is leaving out. Additional context here for overzealots. I'm not going to help your point here as overzealots. This is a freebie. Freebie. I don't know if y'all ever watched this video. Freebie from me to you. He was also talking about how, and using the justification of the Enabling Act of 1933, saying that the reason why the books on the Institute of Sexology from Magnus Hirschfeld were burnt was because it was Germans reclaiming Germany, which is a classic neo-Nazi conspiracy theory. No, that's not the reason why the books were burnt, Asmongold. It's because, well, Magnus Hirschfeld was, well, inclusive of queer people and didn't just, like, want to genocide them all, basically. That is why.
An unstoppable force of stupidity, but a very popular one. With millions of followers and dozens of thousands of people who watch every one of his live streams, these callous and irresponsible statements are being consumed by his massive audience of mostly young, impressionable men. Mr. Gold here is able to evade the scrutiny he deserves merely due to his position in the media ecosystem. He's a content creator who plays video games and complains about how wokeness is ruining them. If the things he said were said on corporate media or by someone with a reputation of serious political commentating, that would be the end of their career. If Jake Tapper or even Jesse Waters said that they were 99% sure that the Holocaust happened, they would probably get canned and have to stake out a new career as an alt-right creator on Rumble. But when Asmongold says it, well, it's just Asmongold. The other creator I want to touch on quickly before we get back to Ethan Klein is...
Yeah, very, very, very good points here by overzealots. And this is kind of the problems and the consequences of the sort of new media system, ecosystem that we currently find ourselves under. A lot of stupid idiots can very easily get away with saying really stupid shit constantly every single time, and they can be like ingratiated sort of with some charitability, I suppose, because, well, oh man, it's just Asmongold, guys. He's just kind of saying stuff. No, he's not just saying shit, dude. He is a content creator, one of the most popular political content creator currently on the fucking platform, with millions of viewers, and constantly has thousands upon thousands of viewers every single day. The words and things he says and believes in are very, very important to, be aware of, unfortunately. So, you can't just say shit all willy-nilly and just all kind of randomly and whatnot. You have a responsibility as a content creator. You have a platform. You influence a lot of people. But, does Asmongold care about any of that? Keep in mind, the only reason why he's even streaming on his alt account, even to begin with, is because, well, let's be quite honest here. It's because he's too much of a little pussy-ass, baby beta little bitch. That's why. He's a beta. Asmongold's not an alpha like me. The Big Don. He's I'm the Chad. I am portraying you as the soy jack, meanwhile I'm the Chad. I've already won this argument, Asmongold. You're a fucking beta. His conduct is clearly not becoming of a U.S. citizen. Deport him. I agree. Maybe Asmongold should be deported.
This guy, Mutahar. Now, admittedly, Mutahar is not as bad as Asmongold or even Ethan, but he too displays a degree of what seems to be a subconscious belief in Western superiority when he chooses to dabble in political commentary. Remember what I said about how these—
Hey look, it's your favorite guy, Boy Meets Minnie. I know you're a big fan of Mutahar. You love Mutahar, don't you?
guys approach these sensitive topics in a centrist, ostensibly apolitical way, purely for the sake of creating more drama slop content that ultimately ends up holding water for the right. Well, here's an example of Mutahar doing just that.
I was just watching this video before coming in here, lol. This is a very good video. I've watched this video before, and, you know, I generally sort of have, like, these sort of, I guess, quote-unquote yap sessions where I go over, like, a particular, like, video essay that intrigues me to sort of, like, you know, look and learn about stuff. And, you know, kind of just, like, go over the topics, see what can be learned, see what can be gleaned, see what we can, like, talk about and stuff like that. Using this as, like, a sort of, like, vehicle to, like, learn a particular lesson and, you know, give my also, like, 2 cents, you know. Well, you get the pleasure to watch it a second time. I love it so far. Well, you know, we love not being able to find work.
In October of 2024, Mutahar posted a video called Twitch is a Disgustingly Evil Platform, in which he attacked left-wing creators and broached the topic of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. At the time, Twitch was being accused of being anti-Semitic. These are claims that I believe to be baseless. Twitch was just highlighting pro-Palestinian voices and creators, some of which were Jewish themselves, and this...
Keep in mind, we are talking about that completely fucking idiotic fucking conspiracy theory by Dan fucking Saltman from DGG, that fucking complete snake, troglodyte fucking moron. It's someone who, broadly speaking, has, like, no idea what he's talking about. His only, like, claim to fucking fame is the fact that he's Sex Pestany's right-hand fucking man. That fucking Sex Pest fucking loser. Sex Pestany is pretty much the only claim to fame that fucking dumbass Dan Saltman will ever fucking have. But, you know, what can you fucking do? I found his video because of his video on Ethan lying about the Nakba. Yes, he, I believe Overzealots did a follow-up video today talking about the lies that Ethan did when talking about Avi Shleim in his book 3 Worlds, right? About the, and this is the same thing that Hassan himself also brought up in his debate with Ethan about the conspiracy theory of the double Nakba theory. Essentially trying to do a false equivalency between the actions of the Arab states to Arab Jews to that of the Palestinians, which is just not true. Like, saying shit like, oh, you know, they're, like, the Arab states made a million Zionists like that overnight, even though, like, and Overzealots actually gets into the double Nakba theory in this video as well. That's not exactly what happened. Part of it was also because of, Zionists doing false flag attacks to convince people to move to Israel, but also a lot of the Arab states gave the option to the Arab Jews to be able to leave if they wanted to. That doesn't mean that they didn't face, like, any discrimination or not. That's not what's being said here. But to say that it was all, like, you know, zero-sum gain, like, everything the Arab states did was bad is just blatantly inaccurate.
Anti-Twitch hate campaign was largely fueled by this stalwart supporter of the Palestinian cause, Ethan Klein. In Mutahar's video on the topic, he starts it out by saying,
now, this is in regards to serious world-shattering events that, again, I'm not an expert in, so I'm going to kind of tread lightly in the situation.
He acknowledges that he will be broaching serious subject matter that he is ill-equipped to deal with, which is fine and can be done responsibly, but, again, his position as a drama tuber, whether he's aware of it or not, insulates him from even having to try to cover things in a nuanced and responsible way. I mean, the video starts off...
Can we have, like, a congressional investigation on the consequences of drama slop? Is that possible? Can we have that? Like, I'll be quite honest. Hassan was like, let me explain in detail why you're wrong, and Ethan's attention span only allows yes or no questions. Yeah, the byproducts, like, I've talked about this topic before, but, like, the sort of, like, I don't know, like, death of subjectivity, you know, not being able to go into other people's shoes because Ethan now in particular sort of occupies a sort of echelon of class that can very easily insulate themselves from, well, shit like, well, really, like, idiotic shit like saying, yeah, personally, I'm just gonna, like, repeat this other, just complete rank conspiracy theory about, like, the double Nakba theory, which is just Israeli, like, sort of, like, fucking propaganda and shit. What, like, what can you do? We really should, but instead we have Republicans asking the CEO of TikTok whether he's a communist or not. Yeah.
with Mutahar minimizing Asmongold's genocidal statements, and then he immediately shifts to relentlessly attacking pro-Palestinian advocates. If you're gonna make a video adjacent to the genocide in Gaza, could you at least emphasize the severity and wrongdoings of the state of Israel as it exterminates dozens of thousands of innocent people? At least throw up a fucking headline or something. It's true that he pays a little lip service to what's happening in Palestine toward the end of his video.
I'm not somebody that is afraid to say that genocide is wrong.
Here, let me actually do that. Israel. Here. Listen, Mutahar. This is really easy. Okay, I got you, bud. I got you, fam. Israel killing journalists. It's really easy. Like Shireen Abu Akleh, you know, Palestinian American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was killed a year ago. This was before, I believe, October 7th. But you know, still. What's the other journalists that they've killed? Oh, wow. Well, look at that. There's a lot of list of journalists that have been killed. Killing of journalists in Gaza war. Oh, but this is Wikipedia. That can't be like, that's not credible enough, right? Okay, whatever. Sure, man. There was like literally, I'm trying to remember the name of, it's something Shabbat, Hamas or something? Not Hamas. Something Shabbat. Israel killed journalist Shabbat. I forget his name. Hassam Shabbat, a 23-year-old Palestinian correspondent in northern Gaza for the Qatari-based Al Jazeera Mubashir, was killed on March 24th, 2025. That was about a month ago. Okay, well, you know, Israel killed a bunch of journalists. How about Israel killed aid workers? More than 400 aid workers have been killed since the attacks on Israel. Uh-oh. This is one that I've talked about constantly. World Central Kitchen. One that I've brought up numerous amounts of times. Oh, let's check the UN. One humanitarian still missing in mass grave. This was a mass grave that was uncovered. Oh. Just last month. A mass grave of 15 people. But okay.
I think that there is an actual case of, you know, there's an actual case of attack that goes towards the Palestinian people. I think there's very serious situations that go around the world.
But that's only after he A, spends the first leg of the video doing apologia for and minimizing Asmongold's statements, as we will get into soon. B, spends the rest of it attacking the creators who are actually trying to bring attention to the genocide in Gaza, a genocide our Western governments are complicit in, by the way. And C, does both sides are bad type bullshit by saying that Jews and Muslims are just at each other's neck, man. That's the way it's always been for centuries.
These are situations that involve, you know, a group of people, Muslims and
treatment of Jews under the Ottoman Empire. This is just the AI overview, but Jews in the Ottoman Empire enjoyed a degree of tolerance and autonomy under the millet system, which organized non-Muslim communities based on religion. They were granted considerable administrative autonomy and were represented by their own leaders, including the chief rabbi, Hakam Bashi. While non-Muslims faced certain restrictions and a lower social status than Muslims, Jews could generally practice their religion freely and were protected by Ottoman law. This didn't also only extend to Jews under the Ottoman Empire. It's also extended to Orthodox Christians. I believe it was Mehmet II, the Thunderbolt. I believe he was the one who took over Constantinople. He basically said that he is the master of the Romans, right? He wanted to go for that title by conquering Constantinople. You know, if you just do a little bit of studying of military history, like I did, mostly watching a bunch of YouTube videos about it, but I looked into military history. I know this shit. Yeah, he was, man, like the Ottomans were quite tolerant of a lot of like religious minorities. And also, not only just the Ottoman Empire, same with some of the old caliphates. The Rashiduns, the Abbasids. I'm not as certain about, say, like, the Fatimids or, say, the Mamluks. I'm not sure. Or, say, like, even the Timurids. A lot of them were quite tolerant of religious minorities. That's not the same grace that was extended by Christians. Christians were very intolerant, were very, very intolerant of other like religious minorities within within their borders. Let me tell you, man, those exoduses that were very often prompted by a bunch of different like Christian sects. Let me tell you about some history.
And Jews that have effectively been at each other's throats for not just decades but hundreds of years.
Also, Boy Meets Mini, clarification: Isn't Mutahar a Muslim? Isn't he a Muslim? Like, if you do, like, any looking into the fucking history, and you don't even have to look into that far, the reason why a lot of different, like, Arab states are now anti-Semitic, or, like, a lot of Arabs, rather, I would say, are anti-Semitic, is because of the fact that, all that shit was imported after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in World War I. Otherwise, guess what? All of the fucking different religious minorities, all of the different Orthodox Christians, all the different Latinized Christians, the Jews, and the Muslim people all lived in peace in the Middle East. What happened? Oh, the British and the French. The French, you know, the ones who pretty much kick-started back up anti-Semitism in Europe in the 1800s. Wah, 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 wah. And that was about 100 years ago. Nice meme, guys. Oh, but they've been at each other's throats for centuries, guys. Totally. Yeah, totally. Totally. You want to know, like, about the rebellion of Judea in, I think, 48 BC during the times of the Roman Empire. Wah, 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 wah. Learn your fucking history, you fucking morons, before you fucking commentate on it. Idiots. Is because of European colonialism of the region. Classic smoking duck gif emoji. Classic, am I right, guys? They basically kicked off pan-Arab nationalism, same way they did in South Asia with Hindufa and the Muslim League. Exactly, yep. It's all because, and you want to know why European colonial powers do this? It's because it makes the population divided, and therefore they are easier to subjugate. That is the point. What have I said constantly here? Hierarchies and maintenance of control. All about the maintenance of those two things. Every single time.
We're talking about hundreds of years of like just institutional dislike between each other. If you've ever grown up Muslim, and I have, then you know that
the Ottoman Empire,
in amongst the most conservative of Muslim circles. Just as you will know that there is a serious amount
of
the
Ottoman
in
Empire
the most right wing of Jewish circles. These are two groups of people that literally are just fighting each other.
But this analysis ignores so much historical context that it's outright irresponsible. Look no further than the Ottoman Empire, where Jews were a protected minority and had representatives in the Ottoman.
Now, I'm not saying because I pre-watched this, I knew this already. Because I've watched a lot of military history. This has been the policy of the Ottoman Empire since the 1400s.
In Parliament. As our boy Avi put it, unlike Europe, the Middle East did not have a Jewish question. Anti-Semitism was a European malady that later infected the Near East. Jews and Muslims coexisted in many Middle Eastern countries for centuries. It wasn't until the arrival of European colonial settlers in Palestine in the late 1800s, and later the formation of the State of Israel and the violence and ethnic cleansing carried out by Zionist forces, that began to change. It's true that animosity towards Jewish people picked up as a response to Zionist settlers arriving in Palestine, but that tension had little to do with ideological anti-Semitism and nearly everything to do with the perception of Zionist settlers as part of a European colonial project. This idea that Jews and Muslims are incapable of coexisting is a dishonest narrative. It's weaponized to stoke far-right nationalism, and in Mutahar's case, it's being used to both sides a genocide. It was the interjection of the Europeans into the Middle East that introduced complex political animosities. When you leave that part out, you are lending credence to some very dangerous narratives. Stripping this conflict of its colonial and imperial roots doesn't just distort history, it hands ideological ammo to ethno-nationalists, legitimizing apartheid and occupation as if they were just natural outcomes of ancient hatred, rather than deliberate political choices. This is a great example of how trying to forcibly stake out a centrist position because you think it adds a veneer of nuance can actually undermine real nuance and give cover to some shitty ideas. Moving on. I don't think it's too much to ask for Mutahar if he's going to broach this serious topic to at least fill us in on the severity and details of what's actually happening in Gaza, especially if he's going to rack up 1 million views by shitting on these crazy woke Palestinian advocates. By all means, broach serious topics, but brother, you have millions of subscribers and the ability to shed light on the severity of the suffering being inflicted on these innocent people.
I can't believe that Haim-ass Picker would be woke. and say that, you know, maybe, just maybe, and this is a radical idea, guys. Guys, this is a radical idea. Really fucking crazy. Maybe Palestinians should not be turned into mulch. No, don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. Don't shoot me. But, like, I feel like that might not be too crazy.
People. But I guess it's better for the algorithm if you just take aim at a guy like Hassan Piker instead. All these SlopTube guys really fucking hate this dude. Some of them are genuinely obsessed. Take Nux, for example. True. He's a... What is this, a cartoon? Who has millions of subscribers across...
It's a VTuber. Listen, folks. He's not one of the good ones, okay? This guy's really stupid. And again, I'll do the fucking stupid expose on fucking Nux. The only reason why Nux became a fucking, like, weirdo, like, right-wing SlopTube creator is because he got exposed for, well, honestly, just being a bit of a fucking creep. I'll be honest. Because he used to work with people like Mutahar. Him and Mutahar used to have a fucking podcast together. I think I've watched, like, one episode of it, and it was just, like, I don't know. It's a podcast, I guess. And then that shit got, like, completely canceled. And Nux, as a result, because he got exposed for being really fucking weird about, like, women mostly, for whatever reason, he thinks he's, like, best friends with Jaden Animations. And it's just... It's one of the fucking weirdest things I've ever seen. There's, like, 20 videos on his fucking channel of him constantly just saying, like, me and my friend Jaden. And it's just like, has Jaden even ever met you? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he got, like, exposed for that immediately, along with a lot of his other, like, really just creepy, weird fucking behaviors. And as a result, he's like, fuck. Everyone now hates me because I'm a fucking weirdo. I'm fucking getting the fuck out of here. I'm gonna become a fucking SlopTuber. And that's literally... That is Nux. That is Nux in a nutshell. Is that what happened? It's a very simple summary of what happened. I don't want to go through all the fucking, like, drama slop YouTubers who fucking covered all this shit, because I hate them. But he got exposed for being a really big fucking creep. And that's why he's now, like, a stupid chud SlopTuber. It's fucking crazy. Yep, it was Mutahar. Him and Mutahar, Nux and Mutahar, had a podcast together.
Across 2 channels and churns out videos about things like Snow White going woke, IRL streamers like Vitali and Johnny Somali, and of course, an unhealthy amount of videos about Hassan Piker.
Yeah, this is all, by the way, recent development type stuff. We took a look at a Nux video with him in Tectone. I wanted to fucking commit self-delete because I never thought that I'd be able to face so much just rank idiocy concentrated in one location. Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, I don't know, like, this fucking titling format is really funny. Oh, please, this is nothing in comparison to Destiny, Boy Meets Mini. Destiny, I think, has, like, 7 times the videos than Nux on Hassan.
Like, way too many to count. Nux is also a little more openly right-wing than your average SlopTuber, and he regularly feels the need to educate us on contentious political matters, which I'm super grateful for, because where else would I develop my understanding of fucking trade protectionism?
In the long term, this is bringing unbelievable wealth and industry to the United States.
It's worth noting that he and his contemporaries...
The fucking, like, dumbass music this motherfucker is posting when he's just, like, saying, like, dude, like, think about, like, all the wealth in industry that's being made in the U.S. as a result of the tariffs. I literally just talked about, like, why that's just simply put not the fucking case. And anyone who fucking repeats these talking points are just, like, complete morons. It's silly. This guy isn't, this dude is a fucking idiot.
Contemporaries rarely, if ever, actually back up their claims. Just look at this description box. No sources, just a polemic descriptor about how Democrats are cooked, Doge Lord Elon Musk, and what seems to be a bunch more SEO ranking terms. And then he has the gall to claim that his video is for educational purposes. Maybe I'm just being a dick, but is it really too much to ask that when we make definitive statements about contentious political or economic issues, we substantiate those claims somehow? Especially if we're gonna make quote-unquote educational videos. Anyway.
Sorry, overzealots. Unfortunately, we live in a media environment, and, you know, broadly speaking, thanks to the death of critical thinking, and the death of fucking subjectivity, that such things in this heavily, overly fucking monetized world that we currently exist under is, well, that's not profitable, unfortunately. It's not profitable to be accurate. The only thing that is profitable to do is because... And now, I know that overzealots probably knows this and is saying this rhetorically, and I'm just, like, entertaining myself mostly, because overzealots is fucking correct, obviously. yeah, overzealots is just right when he says this. Because of, like, outrage marketing and all this other, like, nonsense I was talking about, the consequences of late-stage capitalism, this is, broadly speaking, the reasoning as to why we find ourselves in this, like, just complete content slop, dreck, rank nonsense that we currently find ourselves in. It's just... it's like... I'm, like, out here busting my ass off, trying to make, like... well, relatively fucking low effort, but still somewhat more informed content about, like, political segments. And meanwhile, we have, like, troglodytes who are able to pump out millions of views per fucking video, just saying complete rank tomfoolery and nonsense, and just, like, say, like, and, you know, it just becomes really popular. Yeah, you know. It's a sad world we live in. It's a sad world. Remember, exclamation mark YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. It's YouTube algo shit. We love the YouTube algorithm.
Anyway, back to Mutahar. In his video, he calls out a pro-Palestinian creator by the name of Frogan, who said this about American soldiers.
I have no pity at all for any fucking soldiers. U.S. military? Who fucking who? I hope you get PTSD. The U.S. military that are like, yeah, like, you know, I did this back then, but now I know it's wrong. Like, I'm changed. Like, fucking imperialism. Fuck this. You don't deserve the PTSD. But, like, any other motherfucker, you're joining them, you're like, oh my god, I want my fucking Camaro, no student loans, fuck you.
Is what she said crude and callous? Yeah, sure. I would never co-sign the wishing of mental health issues onto anyone, but let's examine where a statement like hers comes from. Frogan is a creator of Lebanese descent whose family fled the Israeli-Lebanese war. Is it really that hard to understand why a person of not only Lebanese descent, but of Middle Eastern, Latin American, African, or Asian descent might feel a...
Yeah, guys, I can only think of why Frogan probably is not a very big fan at all of the IDF or Israel. Guys, I know this is a little fucking radical, you know, holy shit, dude. I could probably think of some reasonings for as to why Frogan's probably not a big fan of Israel. Ain't no fucking way, dude!
Hatred for the imperial, murderous U.S. military that has infected their politics, bombed their countries, or outright occupied them for decades? Mutahar seems to think so. He had this to say about Frogan's take.
Oh, how out of touch do you gotta be? How privileged do you gotta be to sit there on your ass in California and just badmouth the people that take a bullet for your freedoms every single day? The most out...
Mutahar, you're Muslim, bro. Okay, I'm doing the meme. We're doing the meme. I'm doing the meme. Mutahar, you're Muslim, bro. What's the likelihood that your dumbass probably got a fucking side eye by some fucking, I don't know, dumb fuck 3 IQ fucking racist saying like, oh, you're probably one of them Muslims who gonna do a terrorist attack or some shit. Yeah, like this is some fucking unk shit, bro. This is some fucking dumbass unk shit. There's an obsession with people with nothing oppressing them, having the need to feel like they're being affected by the dumbest stuff. Honestly, yeah, it's same shit I said before for Jink. It's the death of subjectivity. Death of subjectivity. These people have no fucking idea about what it's like to live in other people's shoes. They can't think that way because of like a lot of various socioeconomic reasonings, right? They're incredibly privileged and rich. They have a lot of money. So, who gives a fuck about, like, what other people fucking think? I got my bag. I'm fucking rich and very well off on my own. So, fuck it. Who cares what fucking, I don't know, a dumb fuck, fat hijabi woman has to fucking say? Because they always call Frogan fat, even though, like, she's not fat. She's chubby. Sure. But, like, a lot of the motherfuckers in the audiences of like slop fucking tubers would like a little bit of chub on their fucking on their women. Okay, they're just saying this because she's on the left and she's openly progressive. That's the main factor, and you know, part of it is also racism. But you know.
Outrageous shit you'll ever hear.
Just for reference, here is Mutahar's very charitable coverage of Asmongold saying that he doesn't care if Palestinians get genocided because he believes they have an inferior culture.
I just want to preface, Zach Asmongold has pretty much walked these things back and, you know, has apologized for it. In this situation, one could, you know, if they were to extend the charitability, could say that Asmongold was...
Yeah, man. We love being charitable to our, like, fucking millions of viewer Andy. Because, again, the only reason why why Mutahar is even deciding to extend any charitability in this particular instance is because, well, I'm gonna be quite fucking honest, dude. It's because he wants his own clout. Let's be honest here. Oh, well, I appreciate Zane sending you over here. You have a good one as well, Jink. We'll see you around.
Probably referring to extremists in the Islamic religion, and their view on people in the LGBTQ camp, all right?
And let's take another look at how he responded to Frogan.
Oh, how out of touch do you gotta be? How privileged do you gotta be to sit there on your ass in California and just badmouth the people that take a bullet for your freedoms every single day? The most outrageous shit you'll ever hear.
This is all in the same video, by the way. Where did all the charitability and nuance go? Instead, he goes on a diatribe about how the American military takes a bullet for her freedoms every single day.
That's right, brother.
I'm sorry, Mutahar, but A, you're fucking Canadian, and I can say it like that because I am too. B, are you aware of what the U.S. military...
I completely forgot that Mutahar is fucking Canadian, dude. Holy fucking shit. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, Mutahar, you're fucking Canadian. I'm also Canadian. I can fucking say that shit, okay? I can be racist to Canadians. I'm a Canadian. I have that right. I can be racist to fucking Canadians. Fuck Canada, okay? It's a dumbass fucking place. I mean, better than America, let's be honest here. I completely forgot that his dumbass is fucking Canadian, dude. Oh my god. Shut the fuck up. What fucking, like, nonsense are you fucking talking about? What's the most, like, recent fight that the U.S. military has even been engaged in? What? Iraq war? What? The Afghanistan pullout? The Afghan war? Where basically it's, like, mostly people just, like, sitting around, like, hardly doing anything. Meanwhile, the Taliban were just, like, you know, biding their time. Just, like, vibing and chilling. Like, okay, bro. Yeah, man. Keep in mind... the origins for as to why the U.S. even went into the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War to begin with were based off of complete false pretenses. So, I mean, you know. Does Mutahar know any of that shit? This isn't true about a lot of Muslims and the religion is progressing. Yeah, well, you know.
has done to the Middle East. And C, since you want to dip your hand in the political cookie jar, I challenge you to name me a single time post-World War II when the American military fought to protect the American homeland and the civil freedoms of its people. Which U.S. military intervention fought for her freedoms? Now, there is a conversation to be had about the poverty draft and how the U.S. military preys on underprivileged people and communities and recruits them to sell their bodies into an imperial force. Yes, absolutely. But when that imperial force goes on to victimize entire regions of the world, you shouldn't be surprised when a person who was a descendant of one of those regions has negative feelings towards the U.S. military. Frogan also went on to apologize for her callous remarks, and here is how Mutahar responded to that.
After some backlash, this complete dipshit comes out and goes, I realize that wishing people harm isn't the best way to talk about these issues. Really? Really? Wow!
You're fucking Canadian, dumbass. Why do you care about, like, the fifis of fucking U.S. veterans and soldiers, dude? You're Canadian. I can say that because I'm Canadian, and I'm racist against Canadians. Silly.
And these people are supposed to be the fucking intellectual bastions on the internet.
Now again, let's contrast this with the way he accepted Asmongold's apology.
In this situation, one could, if they were to extend the charitability, could say that Asmongold was probably referring to extremists in the Islamic religion, and their view on people in the LGBTQ.
Yeah, and keep in mind, you want to know what he's fucking talking about here, Mutahar, you fucking complete dumbass. He's saying that your culture is inherently inferior. Yours, Mutahar. Yours is inherently inferior, is what Asmongold is saying. So I guess Asmongold must think you're inherently inferior. I'm just saying. Don't shoot the messenger, but that's what I'm interpreting from what Asmongold is saying.
You camp, all right?
No, I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It is an inferior culture in all ways.
So let's get this straight.
Also, by the way, Asmongold is quite literally doing the exact same shit as, like, Ethan, where, like, he's essentially conflating the positions of, well, all Arab Muslims to, all Arabs. Should be fairly obvious why that's a bad thing to do.
Asmongold denounces an entire culture as inferior and explains how he doesn't care if they get killed, and Mutahar has it in his heart to be charitable, which is fine. That's his prerogative. But when someone from Lebanese descent says something mean about an army known for bombing and occupying the Middle East, Mutahar's charitability is all dried up. That checks out. Is the point of Mutahar's video to foster genuine understanding and shed light on the horrific atrocities the Israeli state is inflicting upon the people of Palestine? Or is it just to score cheap shots at creators who are actively speaking out against the genocide Israel is currently committing? You tell me. This is not to say that you can't criticize people just because they support the Palestinian plight. You absolutely can and should if they deserve it. But when 99% of your coverage on issues adjacent to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict consists of hyper-focusing on pro-Palestinian internet creators, and the only thing you have to say about a literal genocide is, I think genocide is wrong, but Muslims and Jews just don't get along, man, it is fair for me to call your priorities into question. Now let's move on to the main event. Ethan Klein. This video is not meant to to debunk every inaccurate Zionist talking point Ethan has pushed over the past 18 months. Instead, it's meant to illustrate how his role as a drama slop creator lets him use serious political issues as proxies for personal beefs, avoid doing any rigorous research, and spew Western-centric nonsense to an audience of normies. If you want a detailed rebuttal of all his claims, there are many great YouTubers who have already done so. Creators like Chris Kunzler, Disinformation Tracker, and more. YouTuber Noah Samson did a really great job of using Ethan's content nuke slop video as a launching point to refute Ethan's lies and shed light on the atrocities Israel is currently committing. I'll link these videos below. One specific claim of Ethan's that really broke my brain is when he asserted that more Jews were displaced during the Nakba than Palestinians.
If the Jews didn't come from Europe after the Holocaust, they came from the surrounding Arab countries that expelled them in massive amounts following the 1948 war. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba.
This specific claim is so absurd.
Oh man, we got the double Nakba theory, like the thing that I just fucking mentioned earlier. Yeah, it's just it's a complete fucking nonsense, dude. Now, it's true that a lot of Jews were displaced as a result of the Nakba because of heightened fucking tensions by Israel. Yes. The thing is that makes the claim inherently inaccurate, like I mentioned earlier, is, well, or not inherently inaccurate. The problem with the claim is saying that it's pretty much all a result of just like it was all like just a basic like sort of tenant and result of like the existence of Israel is the fucking problem with this, right? It's not because of that. The problem was because of the Nakba, the actions that the Israeli state were doing to the Palestinians. That's what they were upset with. And also, a lot of fucking goddamn Arab states said, and we're gonna get into Avi Shlaim here, of him talking about like, hey, the Arab states gave them the option to leave if they wanted to, and many of them probably did take them up on that, and they all moved to Israel as a result. But does Ethan know that? No. And Overzealots gets into that.
Absurd that I can't not include it in this video. Like I said, it has been refuted by the creators I mentioned earlier, but I want to quote Avi Shlaim once more in regard to this claim. Zionists are driven by the propaganda need to portray the Jews as the victims of endemic Arab persecution, a portrayal that is then used to justify Israel's own atrocious treatment of the Palestinians. A rich, fascinating, and multi-dimensional history is thus reduced to a quest for ammunition to use in the ongoing war against the Palestinians. This trend reached its climax with the manufacture of the narrative of the Jewish Nakba. According to this narrative, the forced exodus of 850,000 Jews from Arab countries after 1948 amounted to a catastrophe, a Jewish Nakba, at least on par with, if not more devastating in its consequences, than the Palestinian Nakba. Variously called the Forgotten Exodus, the Forced Exodus, or the Double Exodus, the purpose of this narrative is to create a false symmetry between the fate of two communities. This narrative is not history, it's the propaganda of the victors. Honest history has to acknowledge the part played by all the governments concerned in causing this man-made tragedy. The main difference is that the Palestinian refugees, for the most part, were ethnically cleansed by the Israeli armed forces, whereas Arab Jews, with a few exceptions, were given by the Arab governments the option of leaving or staying. Ethan also forgets to mention the fact that Palestinians were being ethnically cleansed well before the Nakba, also known as the catastrophe. Zionist paramilitary...
Yep. Ethan seems to forget that literally even the British in the 1920s were having, not in the 1920s, would have been a little later. I think it was in about the, it was like late 20s, early 30s, were having skirmishes with Zionist militias. And you want to know where I got that source from? A Loner Box video. Hilarious.
Terror cells like the Haganah and its offshoots like the even more extreme Yirgun were ethnically cleansing Palestinians before 1948, and those terror cells were later absorbed into the IDF. Ethan's framing obscures the true nature of Jewish migration to Palestine. If you take his words at face value, you might come away thinking, well, the Palestinians were expelled, the Jews were expelled, it's just a complicated mess of mutual displacement. But that kind of moral flattening is exactly what the Zionist narrative relies on to justify what actually happened. Palestinians were ethnically cleansed, which contributed to a reaction from many Arab-majority countries, prompting Jews to seek a new life in Palestine. Jewish migration to Palestine had already been taking place for decades by this point and ramped up after 1948. It wasn't some immediate population switch, as Ethan implies. The Zionist movement actively promoted Jewish migration through controversial methods. Some historians claim these include false flag operations to create pretexts for mass immigration of Jews from Arab countries to Israel. This entails staging attacks on Jewish targets in Arab countries and blaming them on local Arab communities as part of a broader strategy to increase Israel's Jewish population and solidify a Jewish majority. And to make things worse,
like this is all that's been like found out, written about from historians, and have been found out by journalists at the time. We know this, right? Like, it's silly. But Ethan's not capable of like doing even like the basic tenets of research.
These Arab Jews were mistreated horribly by their European counterparts once they arrived in Israel. They were solely there to secure the viability of a demographic majority. A particularly troubling example of this was the mistreatment of Yemeni Jews. During and after Operation Magic Carpet, thousands of Yemeni Jewish children disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Parents were told that their children had died from illness, but growing evidence suggests some were secretly given to wealthy childless Israeli or American Jewish families. Others likely did die, but due to severe neglect, and their deaths were
God, that's so funny that literally, God, it's almost as if like, it's almost as if like genocidal outcome seems to be like fucking baked in, because this is like the exact same shit that fucking the Russians are doing in Ukraine. It's the same shit that the IDF is currently doing in Gaza. It's hilarious, dude.
Handled with shocking cruelty and insensitivity. Some reports claim children were used as medical test subjects and died from experimental treatments. This has come to be known as the Yemenite children affair. The broader Mizrahi Jewish population was often relegated to lower socioeconomic status, faced systemic discrimination, and were marginalized within the new Israeli state, with Ashkenazi Jews occupying higher positions in society. So when Ethan just chalks this complex situation up to mere mutual expulsion, he overlooks all the factors involved in pulling Arab Jews to Israel over the course of years. All that said, this context doesn't change the outcome. Jewish immigrants displaced Palestinians, took their land and property, and subjected them to an ongoing occupation. That's unacceptable, no matter the reason for their arrival and no matter how the Israeli government worked to reshape its population. Over the past 18 months, many videos have resurfaced of Ethan Klein and his wife Ela engaging in dehumanizing conversations regarding Palestinian people, literally referring to a Palestinian person as it at one point.
I walked with them to one house. Okay. I did get out of the car once, but surrounded with them. So.
Okay. Did they arrest anyone that night?
They did.
Did they bring it in the same car with you?
No.
Oh.
So yeah, this is in reference to when Ela was in the, because again, Ela used to live obviously in Israel as well. Same with Ethan. They both used to live in Israel for about 5 years. And quite literally, Ela was born there, so she had to do a time in the IDF. Originally, she worked as a secretary, but then quite literally, as she herself said, she got bored with being a fucking secretary. I'm quoting Ela here. She got bored with being a fucking secretary and then decided, you know what? I'm going to ask my like company commander if I can like join with them, because otherwise like I don't want to be stuck in like the office job, because that's just fucking boring. And she participated in a fucking night raid. So if people got fucking arrested and harmed, Ela, technically speaking, has blood on her hands. Like quite literally. Like that's not fucking hyperbole. That's not cap. We're not trolling or anything. She has blood on her hands.
Few cars going.
Yeah, that's crazy. Was it like, how did you feel? Was it horrifying?
It was strange.
They've also revealed a double standard in the way they view Westerners versus the way they view people from the Middle East. For example, Ethan loves to accuse Hassan of being a terrorist supporter, and one of the reasons he makes this claim is because Hassan interviewed a young 19-year-old man from Yemen. At the time, Hassan was under the impression that the teenager was part of the Houthis, and he wanted to conduct an interview with him. It later turned out that he was not, in fact, a Houthi, but that revelation didn't matter to Ethan or Muta or Nux, and they all ran with the talking point that Hassan promoted a quote-unquote terrorist. Apart from the term terrorist being a highly contentious label, often used as a political tool to delegitimize groups resisting oppression while legitimizing the violence of oppressive states, let's zoom out a bit and look at the history of Yemen. Yemen is one of the poorest countries in the Middle East. It has been the victim of a genocidal campaign.
I think it's one of the poorest countries in general, I'll be honest, right? Not just in the Middle East. I think Yemen might be the poorest. I'm not sure, though.
Waged by a coalition of Gulf states, headed by Saudi Arabia and supported by the West. Israel's intentions align heavily with those of the Saudi-led coalition and is viewed as an outpost for Western hegemony in the Middle East. It is not exactly inconceivable why a 19-year-old from Yemen might be anti-Zionist.
Yep, Yemen's even far worse off than Bangladesh. Worse off than Bangladesh, dude. Damn, that's crazy, bro.
Especially as the state of Israel is in the middle of committing a genocide. When this young man was asked by Hassan if he was anti-Semitic or simply in opposition to the ethno-religious supremacist idea that is Zionism, he confirmed the latter.
Ask him what he thinks about the fact that in America, some of the leading groups that are pro-Palestine are led by Jewish people who are anti-Israel. How does he feel about that?
He's saying anyone that supports Palestine, we're with.
He's done so many times back when he was active on Twitter. I did not mean...
Damn, I didn't know that this Houthi, quote-unquote Houthi, is able to make the difference between, you know, anti-Zionist Jews and, you know, Zionist Jews. I had no idea that this guy was able to tell the difference, but okay. You know, for some reason, Ethan can't. All right, man.
The Jews, but the Zionists. I respect every Muslim, Jew, who stands with the truth, and I will do everything I can to protect him. Ethan's arguments as to why this kid is a terrorist are silly. First, he says the kid is a Houthi.
This Houthi pirate. I mean, who are you kidding? This guy's a fucking terrorist.
Even though we don't have concrete evidence to back that claim. In fact, Rashid, the Yemeni guy, denies being a Houthi.
Actual pirate, a actual criminal.
Fucking terrorist.
Second,
so again, like we said, like, even as Hassan said in his debate, His fucking last name would not be Al-Haddad. It would not be Rashid Al-Haddad. It would be fucking Rashad Al-Houthi. If he was a fucking Houthi. Because they all have the last name of Al-Houthi. If he's a fucking Houthi. That's how it works. It's stupid. It's like 2001 Fox News, but this time it's online. Honestly, like... I've said this before, but history has a funny way of... history does not very often rhyme. Or does not often repeat. But it likes to rhyme.
The teen has tweeted violent things about Zionism, but as we've already seen, the kid is clearly able to distinguish between Zionists and Jewish people, even acknowledging the many Jewish organizations that support the Palestinian cause.
He's saying anyone that supports Palestine, we're with.
And finally, Ethan's smoking gun is an Instagram comment where someone asks this young man if he's a soldier, and he replies, yes. I don't think this is enough to substantiate the accusations Ethan has levied against him. Let's really quickly contrast Ethan's feelings.
Keep in mind, Rashad Al-Haddad is also ESL. In that interview with Hassan, he had a translator there with him. He doesn't know how to speak English. Or maybe his English is just very poor. But for Ethan, well, he's a terrorist! He's a terrorist! He's a fucking Houthi! Alright, man.
Feelings about this Yemeni teen with his praise of Sam Hyde, a guy who Ethan even admits is probably a neo-Nazi.
Sam is an extraordinarily funny guy that inspired me a lot when I was coming up. But he's also
a Nazi.
He's just a little crazy.
A Nazi. He's a Nazi. I don't care about whatever 3 IQ troglodyte fucking moron will say oh yeah, but he's totally kind of ironic and kind of no, he's a Nazi. Destiny himself has also said if you look into anything from Sam Hyde, and this is one of the videos where I will praise Destiny. This was a good Destiny video where he did a react to the sort of it was a 45-minute Twitter video that Sam Hyde did addressing Elon Musk about the whole H-1B visa debacle. Okay, so what basically Sam Hyde's whole shtick there, honestly, was him just basically being racist about Indians. That's it, and him talking about Americans. Now, if you're well-versed in your sort of neo-Nazi, American neo-Nazi rhetoric, I certainly am. I'm being pretentious. You should know exactly what Sam Hyde there means by American. He means white people, specifically. Because that was the whole contention that he was having with Elon Musk there. The fact that he was getting a bunch of, he said, why should I have American-born workers who are stupid when I can have these H-1B visa workers who are smarter? In reality, the reason why Elon prefers H-1B visa workers is because he has a lot more control over them and he can pay them less money. That's why. But Sam Hyde took the side of the Groypers, who are getting banned by Elon as a result of this controversy, if we can even fucking call it that, to be honest, but was taking the side of the Groypers and saying that you should unban the Groypers because it's all about the sort of American spirit. It's about providing for Americans, Elon. What he means there with that heavily coded language, and this is an instance where the mask was slipping there a bit from Sam Hyde. He was specifically talking about white people, and Destiny has said, if you watch out episodes of his podcast, it's where he decides to go more mask off, and you can tell, that of first order principles, Sam Hyde is a Nazi, simply put.
And also extremely right wing. And potentially a Nazi as well.
I mean, I might be overthinking it, but Ethan seems to be strangely charitable when it comes to Sam Hyde, but none of that charitability transfers over to this Yemeni kid. In Ethan's eyes, he's just an irrational anti-Semite, but Sam is just a little weird. And potentially a Nazi.
Indians are being used to replace white people.
Damn, maybe the Stalinists were right about Leon Trotsky being a fascist. Ethan is also very charitable in his coverage of Asmongold.
Real.
What about Asman? Because he's juicing hard on Trump.
Yeah. But he's pro-Trump, isn't he?
Is he? I wouldn't say
I have to imagine, right?
I don't think he's pro-Trump explicitly, overtly. I know people try to say that. I think he definitely leans more conservative, but I don't think he's as...
Alright, well. This is easy. Okay, this is real fucking easy, Ethan. Asmongold TV. Ethan. Why don't we take a look at his videos? Trump. Elon calling out the left's political blood sport. What the fuck that means. Oh, here's Asmongold doing defense for some fucking Kershey, who's a dumbass like white supremacist VTuber who literally did great replacement theory talking points, but that's cool. Let's see, what else? Positive probably of Elon here, probably. Doing the stupid fat phobia bullshit. More Elon stuff. Where's his Trump coverage? Trump impeachment attempt. More than likely pro-Trump. Arresting judges. He's more than likely he's pro this. Trump. Or I've been honestly. Student attacked for wearing a MAGA hat. I can only guess what he's talking about here. Trump. More Trump stuff. More fucking slop tuber content, more than likely. Absolute cinema. Trump meets El Salvador president. But Trump again. I think my point's been made.
As conservatives, people try to paint him out to be
inferior culture in all ways.
Well, let's see. Asmon is Trump killed it.
He's Trump coded. That's
no, Trump killed it.
What?
Trump killed.
That sounds pretty pro-Trump.
He said Trump what?
Killed it.
Oh, killed it.
In other words,
I think I would say he's Trump coded.
Trump's good at this. ...
I've watched his content. It's not.
That was said sarcastically.
It's not super pro Trump. He's Trump coded though.
Ethan minimizes Asmongold's role as a dangerous propagandist for the right and doesn't even mention his weird comments about the Holocaust.
The Holocaust probably happened.
But when it comes to Rashid, no charitability whatsoever. In the span of a few months, Ethan has praised or done some form of apologia for both Sam Hyde and Asmongold. This seriously makes me reconsider whether or not Ethan actually gives a fuck about anti-Semitism.
I mean, I could take these guys a little bit more seriously if it wasn't for this curly ass shit, like these fucking double curls.
Yeah, that is disgusting.
Or if his priorities lie mainly in using the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a proxy to attack content creators who are critical.
I find it really funny that, Ethan constantly talks about, like, oh, I care so much about Jews, guys. I care, so much about them. And yet he, like, constantly engages in, like, fucking anti-Semitist fucking bullshit all the time. Like, come on, man. It's silly, dude. It's ridiculous.
Of him. Anti-Semitism is absolutely on the rise. A cursory scroll through platforms like Twitter will confirm that. But instead of targeting the actual culprits of anti-Semitism, Ethan is too busy doing apologia for them, while solely targeting anti-Zionists. Ethan seems to think that just because the United States labels a group a terrorist organization, that settles the matter. The US, the UK, Israel, and other Western forces are responsible for some of the most horrific atrocities known to man. The number of innocent people the US and Israel kill for political reasons is astronomical, according to Ethan's own definition of terrorism.
What is terrorism? It's intentionally targeting civilian population for political goals.
Israel, the US, and other Western nations would top the...
So yeah, then Israel would be a terrorist organization. Same with the United States. Same with all other fucking Western powers. Do we need to keep going? Do we need to keep describing? They're all terrorists then. Okay, thanks, Ethan.
List. If Ethan truly despises terrorism as he claims, why hasn't he done full-length podcasts or videos about Israeli forces airstriking civilian residences in the middle of the night with no warning? Come on, Ethan. I thought you don't like terrorism.
I don't like.
I thought we hated terrorists, guys. What's going on? What happened? I thought we hated terrorists, guys. I thought we hated terrorists here. Oh.
Like terrorism. I don't like it. None of it.
Why doesn't he address the systematic use of rape and sexual violence by Israeli forces against Palestinians? In fact, he's engaged in rape denialism when it comes to this issue.
That's a huge claim. 15 Palestinian women were raped.
Mm-hmm.
I was sexually abused in photographs, she said. But like, what? I don't know what this is. What is this?
What do you mean?
Is this a source?
You're asking if it's credible.
Yeah.
Yes, CARE is credible. I think, at least. CARE is
There's no source. There's like nothing here. Like shit. I mean, that's a pretty extraordinary claim. I mean, fuck. Like it's serious to say that the Israeli apparatus is using rape systemically.
Has Ethan done a full-length segment denouncing the...
Fuck, I was also gonna... God damn it, you beat me to it, overzealots. Yeah, I was gonna talk about, like, the Israeli fucking, like, pro-rape protests.
right to rape protests in Israel where people protested for the literal right to sexually abuse Palestinian prisoners without consequence? Maybe he did and I just missed it. Has he mentioned the thousands of unjustly incarcerated Palestinians arrested on dubious security claims and subjected to this violence? For context, the security prisoner designation in Israel is widely criticized as an inhumane and politically motivated label used to justify the mistreatment of thousands of Palestinians. Under this system, Palestinians, many of them minors, can be detained indefinitely without charge or trial through administrative detention, subjected to military courts with conviction rates of over 99%, and denied basic legal rights. The label often conflates nonviolent political activism with terrorism, stripping detainees of the protections afforded to...
This seems pretty broad, Ethan. What's up with this? What's going on? Ethan, you have a problem with this? Okay.
Political prisoners under international law. This framework has enabled systematic abuses, including solitary confinement, denial of family visits, and torture during interrogations. So although I do not condone everything the Houthis have done, and I will never support any acts of violence against innocent civilians or human rights abuses, no matter who commits them, when it comes to standing up against Israel's genocide of the Palestinians, they are on the right side of history. They're willing to do something about a genocide, while others just spew their bullshit from Bel Air. To use an analogy that might resonate with Ethan, I think it's safe to say that Ethan probably doesn't think highly of the Soviets. But I'd be willing to bet that if I told him how they took out 80% of the Nazis, he would agree with me that they were the good guys in that situation. According to international law, parties to the Genocide Convention are obligated to do what they can to prevent a genocide wherever it may occur. Yemen is a party to the convention, and the Houthis, who hold the most political power in the country, are attempting to fulfill that obligation by disrupting shipping and trade to economically pressure Israel and help stop the genocide of Palestinians. Legal arguments aside, I'd argue that the force trying to stop this mass slaughter has the moral high ground in this instance. Speaking of terrorism, specifically the definition Ethan himself uses, it
seems like a pretty bulletproof argument to me. Seems like a not very ridiculous statement to be like, yeah, I don't know. I think the guys that might be trying to stop the genocide, I think they might be the good ones. I don't know. They might be technically the good guys in this particular instance. I don't know.
It's hard to ignore the fact that his own wife fits that description. This isn't exactly breaking news. Many people have pointed this out before, but the facts remain. Ethan's wife, Ela, served in the IDF, an organization widely condemned for its role in terrorizing and illegally occupying Palestinian land. More than that, she chose to leave her role as a...
And yeah, not to mention, also, like literally in the debate he had with Hassan, he even agreed with Hassan saying that, like, yeah, my wife is a terrorist. It's like, all right, well, I mean, that seems pretty definitive to me, guys.
Secretary and requested a transfer to Ramallah, an occupied Palestinian city. Why, you might ask? Because she was bored.
Forced up. Because what did you do? What was your role in the military?
At first, I was given a role that was like in an office somewhat close to my house in Tel Aviv. And it was kind of like going to a day job in an office.
So secretary?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it was super boring and I really hated it. So I tried to change my role. I filled out that form and I tried it and then I somehow ended up in a better place that I liked a lot more. Before it was a daily thing where you go back home every day, and the new one was in a way that was a base that was far from my house. So you go there for the whole week and then you come back for the weekend.
So you preferred that? Were you gone for a whole week?
I did.
Why?
It was kind of like just more of an adventure, more of a different experience that I preferred than to just go to a boring job.
Love doing adventures.
Sit on the computer and go back home at the end of every day. I don't know.
Were you secretary work there?
So there was I was in Dukhifat, which is like a brigade, I guess, that's in charge of the area of Ramallah. And that brigade has like a main officer, so I was his secretary.
She voluntarily moved into an occupied territory to assist in military raids on Palestinian communities. Not out of duty, but out of personal dissatisfaction with a desk job. She even referred to Ramallah as a terrorist city.
You told me once you went on like a mission with them to like a terrorist city.
Like, I'll be honest, for example, if we're talking about like, because you're forced to have conscription with, like, there's forced conscription within the IDF. You have to serve a year in the IDF, whether you like it or not. If you're unwilling to do, like, what that one 19-year-old Israeli kid did, and you're saying, like, okay, fine, fuck it, whatever. Just take the fucking desk job, man, if you want to have, like, I don't know, some sense of, like, morality, even. If we're talking about, like, the least possible evil of evils, I suppose.
Yeah.
That was kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, so my officers and, like, the soldiers in that brigade, they would go every night on a raid in Ramallah to arrest terrorists.
While ignoring the fact that her presence as an IDF member facilitating raids in the city of Ramallah makes her the occupier and the one terrorizing people.
Did you have a gun on you?
I didn't.
You were not supposed to leave?
No, yeah, not really. But even if I walked with them to one house.
Okay.
I did get out of the car once, but surrounded with them. So.
Okay. Did they arrest anyone that night?
They did.
Did they bring it in the same car with you?
No.
Oh,
there's a few.
I wonder if, like, Ela has done, like, basic training at all, you know? Like, did she learn how to fire a gun? I'm curious.
Cars going.
Yeah, that's crazy. Was it, like, how did you feel? Was it horrifying?
It was strange. Very, very weird.
How so?
You see people in the house, and then it's like the soldiers just walk into the house and look through their shit and find guns, and the whole thing is really surreal.
Fast forward to the present day, and Ethan Klein has the gall to say this about the people of the city she terrorized.
I think if you, as an Israeli, go to Ramallah, they'll kill you.
What do you mean you think?
I think I'm
That's a
saying if you
fact.
go there as Israeli, you take the turn there, you'll be dead. They'll kill you.
It's not only killed, it's like lynched.
As if the occupied are the villains and not the occupiers. Ethan deliberately avoids engaging with this issue. Whenever it's brought up, he deflects by attacking a straw man, insisting that people just don't understand that his wife was a victim of mandatory conscription. But what he refuses to acknowledge is her conscious decision to transfer to a more adventurous role within the IDF, one where she actively participated in terrorizing innocent people. He constantly plays this card while ignoring the severity of her actions. He even had Mutahar on his show, who also basically reduced this controversy down to Hila did mandatory service, so why are these crazy lefties so mad?
Every time I see like the anti-Hila train coming out there, it's like, so she did mandatory service. Okay, now she's like a fucking baby killer or something, right? Like it's just it's one of those things where it's
like if we want to talk about fucking straw men, that is a fucking straw man of the left. Yeah, that's exactly what everyone is fucking claiming. It's like, yeah, everyone now thinks that Hila is a fucking like a baby murderer or something just because she, decided of her own volition to participate in a raid in Ramallah. Yeah, that's exactly what that means. It's silly. Very, very silly. And again, like we said before, Hila did this of her own volition because she was, quote-unquote, bored. Okay.
Like massive jump in logic, and nobody sits down and explains it.
Nobody sits down and explains it. I'm Mutahar, I'm sitting down and I'm explaining it. Service in the IDF is bad across the board. Conscientious objectors like Tal Mitnick are based, and contrary to popular belief, he didn't have his life ruined by refusing to aid a genocidal military. But apart from that, Hila purposely left her desk job to engage in raids in illegally occupied territory because she was bored. Hope that clears it up. Also, since you don't take kindly to people speaking insensitively about military personnel, why didn't you call out your buddy Ethan when you were on his podcast and had the chance?
I'm personally looking forward to the podiatrist with PTSD from the Iraq War. I'm not like a military simp. I don't get the whole thank you for your service thing. I can see the podiatrist with the PTSD. He's sitting there looking at someone's foot.
Well. Hey, Mutahar, why are you calling out this stuff? What's going on here, huh? I thought we cared about veterans. Fucking Canadian.
And then he has a flashback, and then the foot is severed. This isn't like World War II. You weren't drafted. You signed up to do a fucking job. You're being paid. You're there.
And the job,
you know what it was. I mean, nobody thanked me, my ass, or nobody thanked the fucking cashier at McDonald's for their service.
The output is not good.
He's holding a severed foot because he's a flashback to the Iraq War. His homie got blown up. Sorry about not having healthcare for you. Sorry about the burn pit. The good news is we'll be putting a tiny little toothpick flag on your grave. What'd they die for?
That Monday off work.
Worth it. Shit, we need more troops to... No, I'm kidding.
But when someone wearing a hijab says similar shit...
Such vile, fucking disgusting language.
Oh, how out of touch do you gotta be? How privileged do you gotta be?
These slop tube guys stand for abs...
Not the hijabi woman saying the same things that we said. Shucks.
Absolutely nothing. They have spines made out of gelatin. The only way I can begin to understand the cognitive dissonance Ethan displays is by accepting the fact that he applies a different set of rules to non-Westerners than he does to Westerners. Hila went out of her way to unnecessarily facilitate and ride along on raids in occupied territory, and she's not a terrorist. But this young Yemeni man who has endured nothing but death and destruction at the behest of Western-backed forces for his entire life is a terrorist because he hates the people who hate him. Alright, Ethan loves to throw around the terms terrorist and anti-Semite. He especially likes to direct those terms toward Hassan Piker, which I personally think is incredibly dishonest given that Hassan has time and time again denounced anti-Semitism for the evil that it is and highlighted how it differs from anti-Zionism.
Israel's doing this, yes. The Jews. Well, Israel's doing it. Not the Jews doing
Jewish
it.
people, right?
No, it's not. It's
They're
this. So one thing you have to understand is that
a
like
difference.
There is a major difference because like what Saudi Arabia does is not about Islam. It's not like ISIS is doing what they're doing for Islam. You know what I mean? I'm Muslim. I don't those guys. But either of those guys. You know what I mean?
That's true.
But isn't Zionism? I'm so confused.
It's understandable that you're confused in this circumstance because like
so Israel's
both
not Jewish.
The Nazis who.
Yeah, all these like fucking troglodytes, fucking slop tube, fucking YouTubers and stuff like to pull up the fucking stream that Hassan did with NMP lol. They love to pull up this clip as like a way to try to like prove their fucking position correct. But as you can clearly see here, Hassan is trying his damnness to try to educate and not do like the fucking, whole drama tube fucking slop breaking down everything into like their basic constituent parts. And then it's still not understanding any of the fucking logic underlying with any of that anyways. It's stupid, dude. What can I say? Fascists love to oversimplify things for their own gain. Pretty much in the nail on the head there, boy meets Minnie.
Hate Israel or love Israel, doesn't matter. That believe that Israel must exist or believe that Israel must go away and that Jews control the media or whatever. Like both the Nazis and also Israel and Kanye. And also Israel itself claims that Israel is doing this for Judaism. And that if you criticize Israel like I'm doing right now, I'm an anti-Semitic person. So because of that reason, a lot of people like yourself get confused. You're like, so the Jews are doing this? No.
Ethan, on the other hand, when he's not being blatantly anti-Semitic himself,
or like stinky suit, or like, bro, you have to be very generous to a Hasidic Jew.
Loves to conflate the idea of Zionism with Judaism, not realizing the disservice.
I can't believe that Ethan Klein would be anti-Semitic like this. Ethan Klein sure loves to be anti-Semitic. He's anti-Semitic.
That does to Judaism. Judaism is a beautiful ancient religion whose followers have been unjustly persecuted throughout history. Zionism, on the other hand, is a nationalist supremacist ideology. Its own founder, Theodor Herzl, described it as something colonial and noted that anti-Semites would become useful allies to the Zionist cause. When Ethan blurs the lines between these two fundamentally different ideas, he does a disservice to Judaism by conflating it with an ideology rooted in ethno-religious supremacy and carried out through the ethnic cleansing of Palestine's native inhabitants. So when the Houthis see this conflation made by Zionists, it leads to their horrendous slogan where they use the term Jew instead of Zionist. This happens because the Zionist project and its useful idiots have done everything possible to blur the lines between these two ideologies, even though they should remain distinct. That conflation fuels real anti-Semitism, and Ethan bears some responsibility for perpetuating it. If we go back to the Yemeni teenager we mentioned earlier, it is true that he has used the term Jew in a terrible way.
Here he is singing a song with the words, "Do you threaten us with what we are waiting for, son of a Jew?"
But it's also true that Zionists and the Israeli state have deliberately worked to blur the lines between Judaism and Zionism.
I feel I am representing all the citizens of Israel, even those who do not agree with me, a representative of the entire Jewish people.
As Theodor Herzl himself pointed out, the more anti-Semitism rises as a result of this conflation, the more the Israeli state can justify its existence as a supposed safe haven for Jewish people. But
I'm sorry to say here, overzealots, but I don't think Ethan knows anything about Theodor Herzl. I'm just gonna throw it out there. I don't think he knows shit about that guy.
As we saw with our guy from Yemen, when Hassan explained that many Jewish people actively support the Palestinian cause, he embraced them without hesitation. That's not anti-Semitism rooted in some deep-seated hatred of Jewish people. It's anger at those who weaponize Jewish identity to shield an ethno-nationalist project that has devastated countless Arab lives. When Jewish-American political scientist Norman Finkelstein, whose parents survived the Holocaust, was challenged over his support for the Houthis, he said this.
I totally support the Houthis as a Jew. You said that, Norm. Yeah. The Houthi flag says, God is the greatest, death to America, death to Israel, a curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reconcile this?
I have no problem reconciling it for this very simple reason, and you'll allow me, you can disagree, I have no problem with that. From my first conscious moments in my own life, okay, my parents loathed the Germans. They didn't loathe the Nazis. They hated the Germans. And my parents were very decent human beings. The apple did not fall far from the tree. But I could understand that sentiment. The only Jews the Houthis have known are the Israelis. It's a regrettable fact that they don't know, have never experienced any other kinds of Jews. Do I wish the Houthis were more discriminating in their slogans? Of course I wish it. But do I understand where it comes from? Yes. And will that slogan of theirs color my appreciation of the fact that alone among the world's peoples, they are resorting to armed force to stop the...
By the way, during that debate, fucking Ethan also fucking cited Norman Finkelstein talking about how he just does not agree with well, cynically, he cited fucking Finkelstein talking about how he does not agree with the slogan "From the river to the sea." When the problem that Norman Finkelstein was having is that he similar, and I've made this exact comparison to similar to the slogan "Defund the police." It's not very politically efficacious because it's really fucking easy for dishonest actors to be able to use such a slogan in order to, well, justify the actions of Israel. And that is the fucking contention that Norman Finkelstein has with From the River to the Sea.
The genocide in Gaza, I have to ask myself the question, how would my parents have felt if this ragtag army happened to be situated on a point in the world's map where they could inflect the outcome of the final solution? And these people, this ragtag people, hailing back to the Middle Ages, they were investing all of their physical resources and moral energy to stopping the extermination. How would my parents react? Would they ask, what are their political slogans? I don't think so.
Ethan is now 18 months into his crusade against anyone to his left. He's used...
I wonder if Ethan knows about that clip. Just saying.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a backdrop for his drama-driven attack videos, even as the genocide of Palestinians continues. His desperation to own his perceived enemies leads him to say things that are reprehensible. Case in point, he's once proudly announced he'd take his family to Israel and film how wonderful it is for his audience to see.
What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hassan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys how beautiful, how multicultural, how free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
Let's be clear. He said this about a country actively committing genocide, and as a white Jewish man, his experience there won't reflect the reality for Palestinians. Now, Ethan would refute my characterization of his statement by saying that he was referring to Israel proper.
You guys, how I see Israel, because you don't see that when you listen to Hassan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, oh my God, bro, you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm talking about Israel proper.
However, my criticism still...
By the way, the whole Israel proper fucking thing, that's also just a stupid fucking conspiracy theory. I'll be quite honest. Yeah, like you're saying, Boy Meets Mini. Yeah, notice how I don't say that shit about India, even though it's really diverse. Exactly. Because when people are saying, like, oh, man, I can't believe, like, okay, let's do a contemporary example, you know. I can't believe that Pakistan has, like, such you know, hatreds and problems with fucking India. Look at how diverse it is. You should really like India. India proper, of course. I'm not talking about, like, you know, other parts of India, but India proper. They never you should obviously understand what the immediate problem with that shit is, like, instantly.
Stands. Apart from the fact that the Israeli state is actively committing genocide and praising even parts of it while this is happening is insane, Israel proper is not lacking in its discriminatory practices. There are tons, ranging from discriminatory planning and building laws, particularly in the Negev and in the Galilee. There are land laws that prioritize Jewish people, the anti-terror laws that disproportionately surveil and affect Arabs. Take the 2018 nation-state law, which declares Israel the nation-state of the Jewish people exclusively, downgrades Arabic from an official language, and promotes Jewish settlement as a national value. The implications of this law marginalize minorities. I don't blame Ethan for not exactly cluing into this oppression, but that's a testament to his privilege and ignorance, not the multiculturalism and tolerance of Israel.
We should move to Israel despite them.
Ethan has admitted that he doesn't take criticism well. He deflects, shuts down.
Yeah, here's like a really good example, by the way, of like this sort of like tolerance of Israel. This is one that Zionists love to use all the fucking time. The whole like idea that, well, you know, Israel would let you have gay marriage. The gay marriage, you can do that. No, not true. You can be gay in Israel, right? You can have, like, a gay relationship, but they won't let you have civil unions. But okay.
Lashes out and completely ceases to think critically.
When I'm criticized, I psychologically shut down. Obviously, I get super defensive and super irritable and super aggressive towards those that criticize me in a way that's not healthy. And instead of learning from criticism, deflecting it all the time and making it the world's problem not mine, right?
From taking aim at pro-Palestinian creators like Matt Lieb, who himself is a Jewish man, to doxing random Instagram users.
This one's real. We caught you, Joe. Public-facing account.
Joe.
I see you. You wanted to be cute? Let's see it. Nice mustache. Strong entry. There it is. Anyone, let's see if I know.
Doxing.
I identify him at all.
Oh shit,
that's cool.
That weenie truck he's in front of, that's in Dearborn.
Here's his mom. I'm not gonna clip that for her. Oh, no, you know what? Fuck him. This is what here's your mom. I wonder if she knows what you do on social media on your free time. You love your mama.
Doxing.
Recently, Ethan declared that Hassan Piker should go to Gaza to do some journalism. When Ethan was greeted with the rebuttal that being a journalist in Gaza is incredibly dangerous, he and Ela downplayed the reality that Israel targets and kills journalists.
I can't get any security assurances against Israel, obviously.
Well, bro, it's not like Israel.
That is worried
Look, it's not like.
Do we need to like talk about journalists, right? Does Ethan not know this? Israel killed journalists. Like one of the biggest, highest profile ones, Shireen Abu Akleh, because she's Palestinian American. They don't care if you're a fucking American, bro. They'll just kill you. Crazy.
Israel's going to do a precision strike on Hassan. They don't fucking kill. Yeah, but it is dangerous. It's a war zone. Like I agree, it's dangerous.
They might.
It's a war zone.
They may.
But what?
He was in the running for anti-Semite of the year. They may.
No,
I don't think you guys understand Israel. It doesn't work like that.
They're not. It's not. Regardless, I agree. It's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
It's dangerous in a war
Guys,
zone.
I think
not because
Israel
will
might
like target him.
I don't think it's like that personally.
Claiming that, yes, going to Gaza would be dangerous, but that's because there's a war going on there, not because Israeli forces would purposefully target a journalist. They would never. Now, apart from the fact that constantly calling a genocide a war is a form of genocide denial and obfuscates the reality that a genocide and a war can occur concurrently, as is recognized by international law, and as we've seen in Srebrenica in 1995, Israel does in fact target journalists, medics, humanitarian workers, and so forth. Hundreds of journalists have been killed by Israeli forces since October 7th, 2023, some of which were literally burned alive. This is an issue that predates the current genocide in Gaza. There are infamous cases like that of Rachel Corrie, an American journalist who was run over by an Israeli bulldozer in 2003. Her death was then mocked by members of the IDF who made Rachel Corrie pancakes. Apart from just journalists, other volunteers or workers aren't safe either. In March of 2025, Israeli forces killed 15 Palestinian medics and buried them in a mass grave, and the list goes on and on and on.
This is the same thing that I also just showed earlier, that this was like the more recent mass grave that the the Israelis are trying to use to cover up, and they went after, like, they've gone after UN workers. Like, we could even talk about like U.S. not U.S. but World Central Kitchen. You know, the list goes on and on and on.
Will the H3 podcast ever retract their statements that Israel doesn't target journalists? Will they ever issue a correction? Will Ethan ever admit that he was wrong to attribute the entire death toll of the Syrian civil war to Hezbollah?
I said Hezbollah has killed a shit more load of Arabs than IDF has. You're saying that's not true? Because Hezbollah is credited with about 500,000 deaths in Syria.
Will H3 ever dedicate an episode to documenting the Israeli war crimes committed against the Palestinian people? Will they ever dedicate a full-length segment to talk about the wrongful persecution of innocent advocates for the Palestinian cause? People like Mahmoud Khalil, Mosen Madawi, or Ramizia Ozturk.
Mosen just got free. Let's go. We did it, boys. I didn't really do anything. You know what I mean. Shut up. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, all she did was write an op-ed, and then she got arrested by the government. Hey, conservatives, I thought we cared about free speech. What's going on here? What happened? What happened? What happened to free speech, guys? Guys, free speech.
The H3 podcast is a very well-known program and has the ability to really highlight the degree to which pro-Palestinian advocates are wrongfully targeted, but the H3 podcast is too busy targeting them themselves. However, when it comes to pumping out episode after episode about how Hassan or other pro-Palestinian advocates like Noah Samson are bad, they're quick to turn on those cameras and start talking shit, and recently, even getting a little litigious. This whole situation has made one thing painfully clear. Ethan is absolutely desperate for drama. I mean, his whole show has always included elements of laughing at others instead of with them. He's even taken to creating this new segment where he makes fun of aspiring musicians on Instagram, but unfortunately, Ethan's bullying has transcended petty shit like that. He's now taken the most urgent humanitarian crisis of our time and turned it into an endless stream of hit pieces on people he dislikes. To wrap this up, one last example of how Ethan benefits from his role as a drama slop creator, whether he realizes it or not, is how his audience uses his just a silly internet guy persona to run defense for him.
Bro is still obsessing over Ethan, not like he makes a comedy podcast. I don't know. I don't think it's really funny to do genocide defense over and over again.
His fans push the narrative that since he's just a comedian, he shouldn't be treated as what he truly is, a dangerous source of misinformation with an ego so massive that it prevents him from issuing corrections or engaging in any adequate form of introspection.
And instead of learning from criticism, deflecting it all the time and making it the world's problem, not right?
This is what I mean by weaponized ignorance. When massive creators with millions of subscribers cover contentious issues with half-truths, omissions, or outright lies, it's on the rest of us to call that out and hold them accountable. Ethan says he apologizes for everything he gets wrong and insists he never defends Israel.
Can you name one thing I've said in defense of Israel? Just one. Just one thing I've said in defense of Israel. Or like in defense of the IDF, really. I mean, you can defend Israel.
He even bragged.
I mean, you literally did the whole, like, fucking double Nakba conspiracy theory. Or not conspiracy theory, that's not correct to say. Propaganda defense. So, there's that. But that was easy.
That his wife apologized for calling international war criminal Yoav Gallant a really good guy and claimed that he and his wife have no issue owning their mistakes.
You know, that's how mature people do. That's how you're supposed to handle yourself, isn't it? Like, what more do you want me to do?
I have no problem apologizing and admitting and whatever is needed when things happen.
So, Ethan, feel free to correct the record on your claims about Israel not targeting journalists, about Israel proper being a multicultural wonderland, about calling Ramallah a terrorist city while ignoring the fact that it's under illegal military occupation by a force known for actual terrorism, and the rest of the issues I laid out. For the record, I see no reason to hold things over someone's head if they sincerely apologize. The issue with Ethan is that he spreads so much disinformation, and whenever he's called out for it, he just attacks his critics instead of actually apologizing. So his bloviating about how mature he and Ela are when it comes to taking responsibility is, frankly, insulting. It's understandable why everything tends to get transformed into internet drama slop content, even topics that deserve more respect and responsibility than the medium of beef videos can offer. But one thing we can't afford to downplay is the fact that these drama videos are unfolding while a genocide looms in the background. Don't forget that, no matter how much Ethan Klein and his contemporaries obfuscate that reality.
That's true. That's true. I was expecting some kind of like a conclusion there, but it kind of just abruptly ended. I wasn't expecting that. Well, you know, great video there by Overzealots. You know, I wasn't really saying much at the end, mostly because I've been on for a long time, and also my brain is just kind of shutting down. I mean, there's nothing really there to add there. Just 10 out of 10 video. Very, very good. Should be fairly obvious, like what the overall conclusion there is. Drama slop content creators, they fucking suck. Their content is bad, they're boring, and very often that, hey, you know, well... I mean, like, really, is there, like, any other spiel that we have to go with this? Broadly speaking, we know why this is happening, right? This is, like, the media environment that we currently find ourselves in. It's really easy to produce this content, and, well, guess what? Just like any other feedback loop, like I've talked about before in my Attack on Gamergate arc, because you get a lot of positive affirmation from, like, a lot of people who are willing to cynically weaponize this for their own political agendas and goals and aims, you get a lot of positive feedback for being, well, let's be quite honest here, a complete fucking asshole. Honestly, for, like, lack of a better term. But yeah, you know, overall, very, very good video here by Overzealots. The sort of, like, really the only other additions I would say is there's the reason why it's, like, people like this are very easy to be as successful as they are, as, like, because of, like, the death of Inquisition and the sort of root of, God, what was that fire shit that fucking Zane came up with, and the bloom of intellectual apathy. You know, it's just, this is kind of like the byproduct. You know, like, it's just so stupid and fucking annoying and boring. Like, there's really nothing else to really say here, right? Nothing else that hasn't been covered here by overzealots. Nothing else that's really been covered in general by a lot of other sort of video essays that we've, broadly speaking, I've watched before. Death of subjectivity, the death of inquisition, the bloom of intellectual apathy. Like, we know the sort of byproducts of all this and the sort of like root bases and causes for as to why this has happened. Critical thinking is basically dead. Education is basically dead. People are not fundamentally curious anymore. So guess what? Like, it's more efficacious, especially for a social media environment, to simply just be rooted and grounded in your beliefs. And even despite how many times they're just like, yeah, dude, what you're saying is just completely wrong, and I've given you a treatise for as to why you are wrong. Oh no, I'm just gonna keep believing it anyways because I don't know. Fuck you. I don't like you. You're leftist slop dreck. I hate you. Whatever. Blah 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 blah. We know why, and I mean, like, broadly speaking, the sort of new audiences that Ethan has ingratiated himself with are cynically weaponizing him and, well, his potential good nature in order to be able to, well, like I said before, put out a lot of just complete slop dreck misinformation. We've talked about this before. We understand the whole sort of shtick and ordeal. Like, we know. That's really all I gotta say about that. You know, thank you to the broader George W. Bush and Ronald Reagan for making it such that it is possible for slop tube to become a thing. That's all I really got to say about this, I'll be honest.